All right, folks, I'll call the meeting to order. This is the official solar eclipse version of our Board of Appeals.
Some good photos of that today.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, first of all, gentlemen, does anyone need to abstain from voting tonight?
No,
All right, who was out to see any of the properties?
I did not see any property.
I did not see
Okay, none of us have seen the properties. And who did you or did you speak with anyone regarding the request before us?
I have not spoken.
I have not spoken to anybody.
All right, very good. I'll consider your review of the minutes.
I motion to approve the minutes.
I was not at the meeting, but in the interest of moving the meeting along, I'll second the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded by our people on my right and left to approve the minutes from the last meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
I suggest we move our election of officers out again
Sure.
before we get everybody here. All right, we'll start right off with Mr. King.
Hi.
Come on.
Come on forward, have a seat.
Okay.
Let us know why we should grant you a variance.
I don't know if you have pictures of the property at all.
We have some.
Well, just the overview shows you where the house is placed.
Great.
Now, there is only 14 feet from the back of the house to the alley. There's even less on what would be, I guess, the north side. So the only placement of the shed I had was ahead of the driveway on, or that'd be the south side of the house. I know that it's ahead of my house, but if you look, it is still behind the back of every house on the rest of the street.
All right.
It's the only place I have to put it. And the only thing I have to put, like, my outside equipment in, like the lawnmower, the snow blower, the bicycle, the tools, that kind of thing. I have also a letter I was given today from Ray and Betty Jagir. They are at 1218 South Greenwood, which is directly behind me.
Okay.
And they are in favor of it also, staying where it is. And also, I had on file with my original filing a letter from Janice. She is kid corner from me, and she's been looking at the back of my shed for the last 13 years and has no problem with it being there.
Okay, do you have a garage?
No, there is no garage, it is just the shed.
Okay, questions? Tommy, you want?
Paul, was the other, can you go, was that last shot the view from Greenwood? No, do you have a view from Greenwood?
You should. Yeah, right there.
Do you have the house itself from Greenwood?
The house itself.
You know, I mean, the face that's just off the image to the right here.
No.
Just this image here. from
Yeah,
the
this
street.
is Norwood
That's
that you're
Norwood.
looking at. And so Green.
Oh, not Greenwood, but I mean the alleys, I guess the alley, right?
Right, it is the alley, that's from the alley. And then Ray and Betty live directly behind me. And they've been looking at that shed for now 14 years. It's not an eyesore. I wash it twice a year just so it looks halfway decent, because people do have to see it.
Are you filing this petition in response to action by the city, or?
I was given 2 inspection reports. The first one right before a surgery that I had. And the shed, if you can pop the pictures along from the front, right there. See that dark brown spot there?
On the
This
left?
is- See that bare spot right there?
Yep.
On the left of the picture? That shed was actually picked up and moved over so I could have a little more parking, because after the surgery, I had family move in and we needed the extra parking. So the shed sat there from the from last October until maybe end of June. And that was just so we had ample parking for the people living in the house at the time, because I needed help. Once they moved out, the shed was put back where it originally was.
So somewhere along the line, there was a complaint or some sort of action that
Yeah,
led to you having to come before us with a variance request.
right. And I wasn't told who, which I don't want to know who.
Probably that as well, yeah, we're not here to
I
create,
don't want to know who.
we're not here to create trouble.
No, and like I said, the only reason that shed is where it is because it is the only place I have to put it.
Right. Further questions? Okay, sir, if you could have a seat.
Just wanted to say.
Oh, Mr. Zimmer, please.
I just wanted to say I'd stopped over at your place yesterday, and there was a car there, but nobody seemed to be home, but I knew it was on the agenda.
What time?
Oh, it was in the afternoon. late
I
afternoon.
work.
Oh, you don't have to apologize or anything. I just wanted the committee to know that usually, when there's complaints, I usually get them. And I don't know, I did not get a complaint. That doesn't mean somebody might not have complained. I don't know why, and I've learned from my experience that sometimes it isn't, it can be somebody 2 blocks away that
Right.
is just a busybody that doesn't like something or whatever it is. And it may be a neighbor, you never know, but it's probably best people don't know. But I did go over there. It's an odd property to start with because it's set back. I don't think it's particularly offensive there. I don't know, what are you gonna move the house to the front and try to build a drive behind it or something? I
Well,
don't
if the
know.
city wants to pay to pick my house up and move it 35 feet ahead, I'm more than happy to put in a garage.
That's the front, right? We're looking
That
at
is-
the
we're
front.
looking
That's
at
the
the
front of the
front,
technically,
house.
right?
See, so that the house is set back, it's an
Yep.
oddball in the neighborhood. It might be a good project for our neighborhood enhancement funds or something to try to help that, there is no curb cut in the front of the house. You see, if you look there, you see there's no driveway in the front.
There's
of
no
the
sidewalk even from the street it's fronting to the
No.
house itself.
He does all his business from the alley.
It's like it
So-
fronts on the alley rather than the
So-
house on the street.
Yeah.
The front of his house would be should be the back of the house if it was facing
Yeah.
the other way, but, so I don't know, I don't know if you can give it something temporary, if he ever builds a garage or something, maybe, what is the problem? It's not in it's out of the setback, is that it's in the
It's-
setback area?
it's-
It's
in
That's the
in
biggest
front of the
setback.
house.
It's
That's the
ahead
biggest
of the
setback
main
in the world
structure.
there right now.
Yeah.
It is, the problem according to this is it's ahead of the main structure.
If you look at the main, the front being here, which is kind of the case
Yeah.
that you're saying, it's odd because it's actually more fronting on the alley than on the street.
Right.
Somebody built it a long time ago, and it's just one of those oddball
Yeah.
freaks of nature in our neighborhood. But I've represented this area for a long time. I've never really had any complaints.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm ready to act on it.
good.
I think this is the sort of situation that this committee was created for. This is obviously an oddball property, like the Alderman mentioned. I move that we grant the appeal.
I second.
Okay, by the way, I agree, so we're in violent agreement as usual. We have a motion before us, made and seconded to approve the variance request by Mr. King for his Norwood Drive property. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Zimmer.
thank you very much. You guys have a good day.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Matthews on Ridge Road.
Hi.
Okay, you need a storage shed.
I do.
Okay.
I have, I don't know if you guys have copies of these, but I got that. That is the shed, and this is a letter. I have the original copies here. These are from the
I'll take care of this.
right side of me, left side of me, and then back of me. And I've got here one for you. And one more set, there we go.
Thank you.
So basically, I have a house with an unattached garage, and it's a one-stall garage. And I did build a playhouse for my children, which I'm still raising, in the back of my yard because I'd rather them hang out where I know where they're at and who they're hanging out with, and it's been there for a long time, and it's a godsend with this day and age. But I need some place to store our stuff, our outside equipment, and stuff like that. Now, because I only have a one-stall garage, I really don't have any room to put anything in there. But I think it says on here where you could see the house, the garage, and then the playhouse is here, and then just to the right of the playhouse would be where I would put the storage bin. Now, all three neighbors don't mind, and one neighbor, the one in the middle who emailed me, actually said it would be an asset to him because it would act as more of a barrier between our properties.
And he's the one behind you?
Yes.
Okay.
Their parents own that house, and now the three young boys that they raised are all construction boys, and they all live there, but they're never home, so.
So which neighbors then? We've got two here?
Yeah, this
Three.
neighbor,
One, two,
this
three.
neighbor
there it
is,
is. Okay.
this neighbor is to the, if you're in the front of my house, this neighbor would be to the left of me, and then this neighbor is to the right of me, and then this neighbor is directly behind me.
Okay, when you say to the left and right of me, are you talking about the one up just above and just
Let me
below,
see.
or are they across the street, or I didn't quite catch that?
Okay, you see where the number 14 is?
Yep,
Yeah, that's Jim's house.
Okay.
He's to the right of me. And then where you have the red 9,
Yep.
that is where Coke and Dwayne lived.
Okay.
And they're to the left of me. And then right behind the playhouse would be the house behind me.
okay, so you've bracketed very well your neighbors,
Yes.
all three of whom are your closest neighbors and are not providing any objection to what you're proposed to do. Okay?
You don't have any pictures of the playhouse, do you? That's okay if you don't.
I do on my phone, I think.
So it's not like a
It's-
swing set, it's like an actual playhouse. Like,
Yeah, it would look like it looks like the shed looks.
Oh, okay.
Except it has patio doors facing my patio doors, so I can always see what's going on in there. And it's just, I think it's 12 by 15, if I remember right. So it's got patio doors, it has one window in it, and then we have a couch, a love seat, and then of course, there's a ceiling fan, and then I have an electric fireplace with a TV so the kids can play their games and listen to their music as loud as they like.
It's like an
I know,
apartment.
I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm moving in.
Well, no bathroom, no shower, no bedrooms, no nothing. But it is a great place for the kids to go and make a lot of noise and do what they need to do.
And the garage that you highlighted in the picture, it's difficult to see, but that is a current structure garage.
Right,
So
but
the
it's
idea here is if you add a shed, you've got now 3.
4.
Oh,
Wait,
4?
no, garage, house, I have 3 now, garage,
Well,
house, and
accessories, structures, right, Paul? That's the problem. You can only have 2,
Only
so
have
now
2.
you would have a third. Okay. Got it.
Right. Yeah, because it's the house and then there's 2, and then with this would be 3.
And just a second accessory structure is limited to 100 square feet?
Second's 150.
150.
The first one's 1,000.
Okay, so if this shed were a proposed second structure only at 10 by 12, it's within the 150, so it's good, okay.
Yeah, and as far as the setbacks and everything, we're okay there. So the only
appears so, yeah.
consideration is the,
They're 4 feet from the
Maybe
lot
3
line,
buildings.
and 3 foot between the buildings, yeah. It's strictly a number of just accessory units.
And I'm also gonna have it, this is a picture of the shed I brought, I only have just the one. That's the picture of the shed. And I also have, so that you know, I am not just putting it down, I'm actually having, this is the gentleman that's gonna come over, so it's gonna be on concrete.
Oh.
So it's gonna be well taken care of, so there's not gonna be rotting and all that, the other stuff. And with that, he's gonna be insulating it and putting plastic down and things like that, so that whatever is kept in there, there won't be any rotting or anything.
okay.
I don't have
Do
any
you have-
questions,
okay.
no.
Okay, ma'am, if you could have a seat, we will deliberate amongst ourselves.
Sure. Just grab this.
thoughts, gentlemen?
I have no objections personally.
And I don't see the hardship necessarily in the situation. You know, it's, the ordinance is, you know, 2 accessory buildings, and we're looking at adding a third here, but I'm not really seeing a case that says, you know, there's a, you know, hardship.
I guess that was my initial concern too. The mitigating concern that argues against our initial concerns is that it's a very narrow lot, it's a single-stall garage. So we've got,
Do you know the dimensions of the garage?
we're dealing with something that isn't, there's not a lot of room, period. If the garage were attached, which I agree it's not, if it were, then she'd be covered completely. So in a way, she would otherwise be being penalized because her garage is not attached. And also, I have to say that, as I pointed out, she's bracketed all of her neighbors well enough that I guess my concerns, at least my concerns, I'm not saying yours, but mine about the fact that there's not a lot of particular need is mitigated by a little bit of no harm, no foul here.
Yeah, again, I see your point of if that garage were, you know, a few feet closer to the street and attached to that house, then we wouldn't be having this conversation because it would have been able to get approved as a second accessory structure.
Right, and one of the reasons why
Is that
it isn't
correct?
is because it's such a narrow lot.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm not gonna die on the sword for it. It
Okay.
convinced me.
Okay, yeah. But I agree, that was my concern too, is that we do look for hardship, we do look for reason to bend the rules. I think that, for my purposes, I think you've made your case. So if we're in agreement again,
I motion to approve the variance.
I'll second it.
okay, we have a motion made by Mr. Everman and seconded by Mr. Halverson to approve the variance for Ms. Matthews on South Ridge Road. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're good.
Thank you. What do I do now?
Don't worry about that.
You may have to pick up some permits and stuff in our office.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want your copies back?
Sure.
We'll give you these two, but,
No, those are my agenda notes.
okay, you keep.
Here's that.
Oh, okay, there's one. I'm gonna keep one for the record.
Sure, if you want these, you're more than welcome to. I made way too many copies, so.
I guess it was persuasive, Ms. Matthews.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is item number 3 here. Sir, come on up. Tell us what you're proposing to do.
Is it okay if I come up with them, or?
You sure may.
Sure, I just,
Thank you.
and just by way of a little history to you gentlemen, Sir Custody, you know, has a property that has a back onto the overpass, and he's taken a property that normally maybe wouldn't be the most desirable place to live or help keep the neighborhood strong, and maybe it would be a rental type property or something. And he has done wonders with this, and he's fenced it in, he's absolutely does everything with perfection. And he's turned a kind of a undesirable, somewhat undesirable, I don't want to say totally undesirable, but somewhat undesirable lot and location into a very comfortable house and a nice addition to the neighborhood. And I think all it's,
That's my neighbor's house.
that's the wrong picture, I don't know where that came from. That does not look like his house.
No,
Neighbor's house is-
his has a nice fence around it, part of it. Yep.
But what's occurred, by and large, you know, the city with their demands to hide your garbage cans. He extended his fence that was in the backyard, brought it to the front, to the side of his garage, and he has his garbage cans, which I don't think are that offensive myself, I don't know, citywide, but anyway, he did more than the right thing, and he put it inside there. And then he also widened his driveway there so that would be in front of where he's gonna take his garbage cans in and out, and he's got a hard surface to come to the street with. And, you know, hey, without it, I mean, I guess he didn't think that he couldn't do that or anything, he just added about, I don't know, X number of feet on the side, so he's exceeded the limit, I think, what is it, only 2 feet wider than the opening of your garage?
Right.
And it's more than that now. But none of his, I want you to know that none of his neighbors are in objection to it at all. If you went by it yourself, you saw it's neat and clean. And really, we put this thing together to really make it convenient for the garbage cans and everything else. And I don't see any problem with it. It's not an eyesore. It's not. He's got plenty of open land in his property, so there's no runoff problem or anything like that. So he can speak for himself, of course, but I followed the property over the years here. Believe me, he's done a lot of good things there.
Okay, good, I appreciate that comment.
I did match the fencing, so it's a cedar fence, so. I originally called the fence company, but they never got back to me, so I went ahead and I matched it and did it myself.
Okay, but in any event, you claim your need is because you've got extra drivers now.
Yeah.
You do have to roll some rollable bins out to the curb. And basically, you don't have a lot of room to put all of these extra drivers. So all you've really done is you've gone a little extra on the right and left. And in doing so, you've violated the 2-foot rule, and you've also gone into your setback. Is that, am I explaining it right? I'm just kind of
On the
explaining
one
it to
side,
myself at the same time. but-
on the one side, there was already cement there, it was just
Okay.
busted, so the busted concrete, I just had removed and then just replaced what was busted, so it's just on the one side.
Okay.
And just to be clear, this work is already done. So what's already happened is already there. It's not like you're proposing to do anything. It's already there, and you're now in violation with what's already there. Okay.
Someone evidently made a complaint. I don't know what the complaint is, because it's just not offending anything.
And I know the neighbor that's on his side, I talked to him before, we did anything, and, he had no problems with it.
And this wouldn't probably be an issue if we had a rectangular lot, but you've got kind of that that trapezoid lot because of the Ashland right away, and if this were a rectangle, that garage would be set back farther, you'd have had enough space, maybe done something differently, so it's kind of just an artifact of the way we laid out the city here.
If the
Well, its
city,
access is all off 8th Street.
Right.
if the city would kind of let you scoot your extra cars around on 8th Street there, I suppose you could almost get away with it, but I bet you can't.
No, I know for a fact I can't, because
Those dead ends,
anytime I forgot to leave it out, it's resulted in a ticket.
those dead ends are so attractive that way, but,
Well, if you'd flash back to the picture you saw of the neighbor's house. If you can there, Paul. See, these folks go off 8th Street. And if you look at his property, there is no driveway there or anything.
exactly.
And it would actually look much worse. In fact, it would be more of an eyesore. It really, the way he has it, it's attractive to the neighborhood. It's not taking anything away, and if he had to go put it in somewhere else, it'd probably take away the attractiveness of the property.
Okay, I've got what I need to know. Noel,
Yeah, I'm good.
Tommy? You have a question?
I just pulled in the street view and was able to look at the house, but now I've switched around the corner and I can't get back to the Main Street side.
I'm not the only one that asked.
I think now seeing it and kind of talking through it, I understand before, because the application only had the application. At home, when I was looking over it, I was like, oh, I'm not quite understanding it, but now hearing kind of what's going on. So the issue is that the driveway with the current garage the driveway's not long enough and it's a little too wide, is that correct?
I think it's encroaching on the side setback.
It's just wider than is allowed.
Here.
He's too wide, and he's moved this one close enough that he's into his setback with the people on this side.
Got it, okay, cool.
I actually don't know if I don't think it's in the setback. How far away from it is from Sam Poston's property?
I think it was.
It's at least a couple feet there, isn't
Yeah, I think it was like 21 inches.
Oh, okay,
it? Yeah, I guess it's supposed to be, what, 30?
30, yep.
So that would be the, but he's, I'm being a little bit repetitive, but I'm gonna say it a little bit different way. He's just kind of killing two birds with one
Oh, yeah.
stone by widening it there. It allows a place for him to bring his garbage out conveniently, and it also, for the time being, helps with his parking situation, which will probably disappear on its own in a few years.
Don't we all hope?
Yeah, the college bills will
Yeah.
be around a while, I think.
All right, I've got one extra.
Yeah.
Okay, if you could have a seat. Thank you again, Mr.
Thank you.
Zimmer.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve the requested variance.
Both of them?
Yes.
My second.
Yeah, I agree. This is another one where that's what we're here for. Very well, we've had a motion made to approve the variance on 8th Street, seconded by Mr. Everman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You have your variance.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, next we have Renee Zeke. Very good. Okay, we need to put in a new garage.
Yes, and what we're doing is I'm extending out into my backyard, but I think the city's confused. They keep sending my neighbors notices that I'm going towards their property, and I'm not going anywhere off my original slab. We're keeping the original slab there, and I'm going the other way towards my backyard.
Is that the way you understand it, Paul?
No.
Oh,
Do they get the variance letter from?
Got it from our own records. Right, no, based on the drawing that was provided, it was unclear where that garage was being placed. It almost seemed like it was on the lot lines.
And we're sticking to the same slab. The slab is still there. I'm not veering from the slab. I'm just going out.
But now, we are gonna replace the slab because it's broken up. But it's like I made my own little drawing here. Those three walls are gonna be in the same spot as they are right now.
So in other words, if it's
Neighbor.
non-conforming currently, it's going to just, you're proposing it to stay non-conforming in terms of side and rear yard setback on this?
that's the way
And
it
then
sounds.
adding 2 feet
Right.
over to the
Be-
inside?
Because this wall, this is the driveway right here. This wall is basically even at the edge of the driveway.
Yeah. and there's-
So
there's
these,
no
so
turning
those three are
radius there.
staying, and we're just extending into her yard.
Okay,
It's, you know, a two-stall garage, if she ever goes to sell it, it's a better selling point
great.
than a larger one.
So this is important, which is why Noel was bringing it up. Is that basically, this corner is still this corner.
Yes.
And so whatever is here, whether it's conforming or not, it's not going to be altered. You're just
Correct.
really going this way.
Correct.
in your backyard. Okay.
And it looks like 713 would have the same issue if they ever wanted to make any modifications.
Looks like it,
Yeah.
Yeah, because as of right now, there is no garage there. It collapsed.
Okay.
And
she had to have it
next
removed.
door.
It collapsed, thank God.
Oh, okay.
Mine did,
Oh.
yeah.
Conveniently, very good. Okay.
But again, it's not clear where the slab is. There's no dimensions on this. I don't know if it's on the lot line, it's a foot off, 2 feet, I don't know.
So, all right, I can address that, I think, when we make a motion
It's on the
on it.
lot line, isn't it? It's the original
I'm not
slab.
exactly sure where, right, 'cause it's been there for who knows how many decades.
Yeah,
Well, we can condition it accordingly.
Yeah.
I mean, we can even take pictures before to prove that will be in the same spot as after.
Are you even gonna be able to get into that other, you can't even get into that second stall really with the way that it looks like the turn you've got.
That actually looks worse than it is.
Oh, because we're seeing, we're
Yeah.
seeing the photo a little bit slanted.
Right.
I can see the front of the houses. Okay. That's pretty cut and dry as far as I'm concerned.
You could have a seat, we'll deliberate.
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, I think proving it, but subject to saying, look, you can't, even if the current slab is encroached on the other parcel, you can't pour a new slab on the neighbor's property.
We're not proposing to grant a variance that justifies encroachment.
Right.
We are proposing, I believe, a variance.
To say
that
replace the slab if it's completely
puts
on the property or.
Puts the second building where the first one was.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
regard to that back
Yeah.
line. That's what
But
you-
I would say, but explicitly saying, but if you determine that that current slab is 6 inches on the neighbor's slab, then the new slab has all got to be shifted over another 6 inches, you know.
Or they have to make some arrangement.
Right, right.
Just to clarify, when we talk about setbacks, we talk about the relationship between the property line and the face of the structure.
Right.
So there's an overhang here as well, so you have to take that into consideration.
Well, like it's going to be in the airspace of the adjacent
Right,
parcel.
so again, that overhang should not go on someone else's property, it's measured to the face of the facade.
And we are minimizing that overhang. Normally, it's a 2-foot overhang. I was only going to do a 1-foot overhang on that eave.
It's like there's somebody else who maybe wants to address this.
It's my neighbor.
On the 713 Kellogg Street property, I'm not against Renee building a new garage or enlarging her garage. My concern was that drawing, and that it looked like it was right on the property line. I don't know what a setback is even for a garage. So what is the ordinary setback
It
for?
would be 2.5 feet.
2.5.
On the side and then 4 off the rear.
Okay. And my other question would be, does anybody know where the property line is?
Right.
Oh, they should have some stakes in the ground, you would think.
Mhm.
The other issue we see sometimes with being so close to the lot line is water runoff. Sometimes boards require gutters or some other mechanism to control the drainage from
Yeah,
that
good point.
roof.
I am lower than Renee's yard.
But you didn't have a problem with me before, did you? Or
Although
no?
my yard's always wet, but I never really considered that it was because I'm lower. I never really looked at it that way until I thought the garage was going to be moved closer to my property line. So like I said, I'm not against it. I just would prefer not to have a side yard setback any greater than it is right now. So basically,
Was the house built, expanded at all, or was that how the original house was built with that garage?
That's how it's originally built.
That's the original
She's
house,
really
no
tight.
additions. I'm not sure if the garage was built at the same time, because that house is like 100 years old.
Oh,
So I don't know if the garage was built then.
it's very similar to the one next. You said you're 713?
yes.
Is yours a single garage?
No, mine's a double.
Double?
I'm sure it wasn't built when the house was built
Right.
because the house is also over 100 years old. and-
Yours
Yeah,
kind of
they may
sits in
not
the
have
same
even been a
proposed
garage.
idea, correct?
Pardon?
Your garage kind of sits in the same kind of proposed idea, correct?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's very-
your
it's very
garage-
I
close
have
to the
4
lot line.
feet around all sides of my garage, or all sides, the 2 sides that border other properties. I have a 4-foot setback.
On the property line? These drawings are not accurate.
Sometimes they're way off, sometimes they're right on, and we have no way of knowing.
Oh.
And then sometimes it can be very confusing because of angles and,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it would be 2.5, Paul, to make it, it would be 4 feet from the back line where the number 50 is, it'd be 4 feet from there.
Right.
And that's the overhang, not just the face of the property. So it would go 4 feet forward and then
Right.
2 feet to the left as well?
Right, so from the rear yard, it's 4 feet this way. Because the lot's less than 60 feet, it can be 2.5 feet on either side.
But 4 feet up, which
4
basically
feet
makes
up.
it inaccessible.
It could, yes.
Yeah.
But on the other one, in 713, if we're assuming the blue line is accurate, but she's saying it's not. She's saying she has 4 feet.
It's hearsay, I don't know.
Oh, okay,
Without having seen a survey, I wouldn't know for sure, I guess.
sure.
Well, at this point, we have the word of the neighbor that she's satisfied with the way the situation is now, but she perhaps has some runoff that we should deal with. But I think we can structure our variance to say that the wall has to be in the same spot, rear and side. The overhang can be no greater than it is now. And in addition, we'd like to see some way to manage the runoff so that it avoids going off to 713.
There'd be no problem throwing a gutter on that side and having a
Directing
downspout
it,
go off the
yeah.
back.
And then we would also say that we're not adjudicating a property line dispute, if there even is one. We're just saying that on the basis of what's been presented to us and what we've heard from both sides, we can go along with just keeping everything the way it is.
Just go 2 feet that way.
And let them rebuild the garage.
Well, in terms of, and I get that this is super tight and not a lot of wiggle room here if you end up moving that slab over, but you are replacing a slab.
Yes.
So I would be comfortable with something along the lines of saying, allow the new slab that's 2 feet wider than the existing slab and the garage construction as they're proposing it, and add a stipulation about the gutter on the side adjacent to 713 to go the other way. But also to say, regardless of where that existing slab is, whether it's right on the line, whether it's a foot off the line, whether it's encroaching on the neighbor's property, whatever the case might be, that the new slab not be closer to the property line than either the existing current or a minimum of, say, a foot, if it is right on the line. I'd say, you can move it off a foot from the existing without completely making that garage inaccessible. If it's right on the line currently, then you're at least getting a little bit of breathing room from what you had in the old garage,
It wouldn't be in line with their driveway if they had to move the slab.
Yeah, so that's why we're not moving the slab.
I mean, I'm not opposed to.
You're okay with the exact line of that
I'm okay
line?
with where the slab
Okay, well,
is
then
now,
I'll-
I just didn't, from that drawing that's up on the screen, that's where my concern was, because it looks like it's on the property line.
Yeah.
And I would move that we grant the variance, the 3 variances listed on this
I
request,
just want to see you get through this one.
with the additional condition that rain gutter be added to the roof on the east side of the garage that drains
problem.
to the west of the garage.
Do we want to add in all the other, there's like three other things, so like the,
And that the new slab can't be any closer to the lot
Right,
line
that's
that
gonna be
lot lines that are currently.
Where the back wall and the sidewall are, that's where they're gonna be.
and then the overhang.
And that's dealt with by.
And that the overhang will be not greater than 1 foot.
That it won't be.
Perfect.
But now, does that include the gutter?
No.
Okay.
That's my motion.
There isn't a gutter there now, correct?
There's no garage right now.
There's no garage right now. so.
Oh, okay, all right.
Paul,
Yeah.
you were going to say something?
No.
Do you got that? You want to write it back just to make sure we know it, or?
Well, I just had that it being as requested and that a gutter be added to the east elevation.
And that the eave not be greater than 1 foot.
I second.
And that nothing we're saying here adjudicates a lot line dispute,
Right.
should
Yes.
there be one.
Yeah.
Add that, and then I second.
Well, I think that's understood.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, good.
We're not,
We do a lot of what he said kind of stuff, so.
No, I'm glad you did that one.
You did that great. All right, back to business.
I second.
Okay. We have a motion made to approve the variance requested by Ms. Zeke with some conditions, as explained by Mr. Halverson's motion, and it as Mr. Newmeyer understands. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. You're good.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, gentlemen.
Sorry. That was just funny. Trying to get off this.
Oh, you did great, Nolan.
That was good, Noel.
You're challenging. Mr. Van Zeeland.
Yes.
Okay, we have another detached accessory structure,
Yes.
and Mr. Zima is involved again. This is your night. I appreciate
Well,
you being
I'm gonna
here.
tell you something, I'm glad they're all in one night, so I didn't come here 3 times.
That's good, it was very convenient.
I have a existing chicken coop that is within the side setback. It is over 25 feet from the primary residence of the neighboring structure. And the neighbor wrote a letter approving the variance.
And this neighbor,
Correct.
Yeah, supporting the request. Okay.
Yes. So here's a copy of the letter.
Yeah, got that.
Just by way of background again, Mr. Van Zeeland took over the property in recent years here, and he's doing all he can to make it beautiful and improving it, and he's to be complimented for it. I think the chicken coop out there is on the lot line, but it's right next to a garage. I did speak to the neighbor personally, and who owns the property, and she has absolutely no objections to it at all. And I think that the greater hardship of moving it was that if you moved it more toward the center of the property, it would block any convenient access to his backyard. And he's, I don't know if any of you stopped by and looked at it, but they're making nice improvements and putting in brickwork and everything else. And the way it is, really, I think it's the least offensive, least inconvenient to the really good access and to the beautification of the property.
right, and the applicant has also made the argument that the moving the coop to be compliant would put it more in the sun and would potentially, I assume, make your chickens a little more stressed from heat.
Yeah, it's good to have, sun and shade, so.
Okay,
Yeah, I haven't had any complaints about the chickens. I saw them when they came. So,
So Paul, is the issue, because it says on the application, no accessory structures used to keep hens shall be located in the front or side yard dash building okay.
So there might be a couple different things we're looking at. One might be the regulation of chickens, which is not under the zoning code, so that's not something for you to review. The other issue is the structure itself. That's encroaching in the 2.5-foot setback. That is what is really before you.
yeah, that's the way I understood it. It's just the fact.
Just that there's a proper, on the property line, that's it.
Right.
It should be 2.5 feet off the
It's an
property.
accessory structure, happens to be a chicken coop, could be a shed, could be anything else.
Copy that. Thank you.
Questions, Norm?
No.
Tommy? Yeah, we'll let you take that back.
Okay.
If you could have a seat, sirs. I appreciate again, Mr. Zimmer, your comments.
Thank you.
We always appreciate the comments from the elderly people. I don't have any problem with this.
I motion to approve the variance as requested.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made to grant the variance requested by Mr. Van Zeeland on 13th Avenue. A motion made by Mr. Everman, seconded by Mr. Halverson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I wish they all had as good a drawing
Yeah,
as this one.
I know, yeah.
It was nice.
All right, we're next up is Ms. Wright.
Hello.
Hi. You have construction plans.
Yes, we do. Did they give you the paperwork?
I think we have a bunch of nice
Oh,
geometric.
where, you got
there
it?
you go.
Okay, perfect.
So we understand you want to make an addition onto your house to attach a garage. And you're going to attach the garage to the house with a structure that includes a half bath. And in doing so, you are violating a ordinance regarding side yard setback?
Correct.
Right, Paul? Is that the
Correct.
only issue?
No,
No, it's the square footage of the garage.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, there's that. There's two of them then.
Yeah.
They're impinging on the side yard setback, and they've made it too big, they've made it bigger than the house.
The accessory use is bigger than the principal use.
Okay, so why do you want to do this?
She's not Ms. Wright anymore.
Oh.
I
You
got married on
I
Friday.
married
All right,
Ms.
well,
Friday.
congratulations.
Thank you.
On Friday?
Yeah.
So,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So how
Okay.
should we address her now?
Mrs. Reinders.
Very good.
Grinders.
All right. Okay.
So this is where I'm going to be now on. I'm gonna sell my house in Little Swamico, and so we've got vehicles, I've got boat, got power tools, I've got things that need to be stored. Preferably inside versus outside. And the garage structure, because of the width of the property, the overhead door approaching from the street is, essentially, it's only a car and a half wide. So in order for two vehicles to get in there side by side, it's gotta go deep enough to get the other one parked along its side. So that's why the depth is growing. Also, on the back end, I would be storing my fishing boat. Versus throwing it out in the backyard and putting a tarp over it and having the neighbors look at that all winter long. It would like to be inside. Incorporated into the design is a half bath that gives us a little more flexibility for both of us attempting to go to work in the morning.
And a pantry area.
Now, from what I understand though, and we do have a patio slab that is going to be accessed from a single overhead door, so to speak, to a entertainment paved area. That is actually set off of the garage versus a typical porch or deck that's abutted to the primary structure.
Okay, so you're saying your patio's coming off the garage?
Right, but if we were to push it to the house, we could count that square footage of that slab as primary, and then the garage could be bigger, and then it would not be varied, need to be varied.
Doesn't seem to be in agreement with Mr. Newmeyer.
No, the slab is irrelevant, it's just, it's the principal dwelling and the accessory use, the garage.
Okay.
A
And
deck
I
or
steer
slab
a
would
little
not,
bit on.
a deck or slab would not count as part of that calculation.
Okay.
It would count for setbacks, but not for the calculation.
I did count the square footage of sidewalks, driveways, all of the structures, and I think I'm at 37% is non-permeable surface, so that's less than 50%, so we're good on that one.
Okay.
And this is our neighbor,
Yes.
Joe? Yes.
Do you wish to speak?
I say let him build it, it's
You're the neighbor on,
840 Marquette.
So when
The-
you're,
the
So you're the one that's gonna be
side
by the garage?
Closest to
That
the
is
garage.
correct.
You're right.
Yes,
so the neighbor that would be most affected is sitting here.
right.
All right.
right.
And it doesn't affect me, it's no big deal to us.
How much longer is the garage than that existing footprint?
It approaches, I think there's a 25-foot setback on the rear that I've kind of shown
Yeah, I see that.
the shape, so the overall length of the garage, I think on my plans was 46 feet from the front.
Yeah.
So it's
Would be
about
a-
double the length of that existing
Yeah.
garage.
So,
Paul, does the pantry and half bath
That's added in,
space
yes.
in here, does that come off of the total square footage in terms of accessory structure calculation?
I think that's habitable space.
Right,
As a
yeah, as
residence.
habitable space, so you're not counting that in terms of calculating it for the,
I would not, no, I think it's strictly the garage is the garage.
yeah.
The
But
slab
it's,
garage.
and it's a large garage, so that's why we're
Right.
talking. Okay.
so tell me, Paul, about what, could he put his stuff in the backyard with a tarp on it?
There is some limited storage he could have, it'd have to be on a solid surface.
Okay.
So that could be a slab, sometimes he'll use cinder blocks and just get the tires on there, that's been acceptable. but, again, it could be a complaint issue as well.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. So I'll say that the only concern I did have on this one, I think it's a great idea. But we get lots of great ideas, and that's not always the reason why we would grant a variance. So the only question I had was the additional depth that you have on the garage. You know, what is the need? Is there a satisfactory explanation for why you're going to make this garage so big?
Well, it's gonna be heated, so it's gonna have planer,
workshop.
joiner, table saw, band saw. I like to do woodworking, so that's my little
Okay.
playground area
Lawnmower.
too.
Right. And you've explained that you had a combination of two households. And I was wondering how Ms. Wright had the former Ms. Wright had all the power tools and boats, but now I understand that.
Yes.
I guess for me, and Mr. Elverson, Mr. Everman can think differently, but to me, that, you've satisfied that. You have a very small lot, you're combining two households, you are covering things that could otherwise be placed outside in a way that neighbors may find
Right.
inconvenient. So I have no problem with this.
What's,
No.
and just help me understand the side yard setback for a lot bigger than 60 feet
Anything less than 60.
is,
So 59.99.
Yeah.
We're kicking at 2.5.
is kicking at 2.5, but when it's wider than 60 feet, then the.
4.
Then it's 4. What's this note I see about structure from 6 feet to 4 feet, reducing?
If it's an attached garage, it has to be 6 feet off the lot line. If it's a detached, it could be 4.
A single story, so this is an attached
Okay.
structure, 6 feet for single story, 8 feet for story and a half. for
Just,
higher.
I'm sorry to educate myself on your time, but what is the attached garage setback on a lot smaller than 60 feet?
Still the same.
2.5 feet?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't matter, it's still always 4 feet.
It's always
or
6 and
feet
8.
in that case, 6 feet, okay. Sorry.
No,
I'm the new guy.
That's okay. You gotta learn.
All right. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, if you folks could have a seat, we'll deliberate. Thank you.
Anybody else that wishes to speak? We got them all here.
Yeah, is there anybody else that wishes to speak on number 6? Just to make sure.
No.
I think the biggest hardship would be denying their request after, 3 days after they were married. As a newlywed myself, I understand that would be problematic.
A lot going on.
There is a
This
lot.
totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
But is there a basement going underneath the garage too?
Just crawl space underneath what is the hallway and half bath.
Oh, but nothing where the brick is on the other
No,
side
it's
above
just
it.
frost wall down to,
Copy that.
Slab on grade.
Well, I explained, my only concern really was the back extra space, and I think I believe that I've satisfied myself in with regard to the ordinance that there is a hardship here sufficient to justify the variance.
Where I struggle is the boat argument,
Mhm.
because people can store boats or pay for storage for different boats.
That's right.
And so if it was for dual cars, which I get, but to then add I'm trying to understand if the cars are going in the single, is that a single entry point? And then there's one.
it's like an entry, a single and a half entry point.
So
So you
where's-
really can't pull
It's not
two
two cars
vehicles in
wide.
at the same
Yeah.
time.
So the boat would go in the back half?
The boat is sideways in the back. The two vehicles would be towards the secondary single door. The power tools would be between the door and the boat, so only really the front half is where the cars.
The cars go.
Go.
And the boat gets in and out through that?
No, the
that-
boat would be just swung on its tongue 90 degrees
And
and
then out the
out
front?
the front.
That's my, because if you eliminated the boat part, then the structure could be smaller, but then I don't even think if you move it and,
Well, remember, if we just allow them to have a shorter structure, he's got to haul his boat in through his neighbor's driveway or some arrangement.
Yes.
Or
Could
store
get
it.
very complicated, or store it someplace, I know.
Yeah, and, I mean, you know me, I'm not somebody who thinks it's appropriate to say, oh, just because you need more places to put your stuff, that's not a hardship, that's, that's not hardship. But in the case of, it's a single width kind of at the street, but it sneaks more width behind the structure in the backyard, if you will. And with a neighbor who's endorsing the proposal, I guess I'm just not seeing, that much problematic with it. Also, in this case too, it's a large enough yard that, sometimes when we look at these larger garages,
Yeah.
it's suddenly the whole lot is built on with this structure. I'm not seeing that kind of with this slightly bigger parcel here, but I am with you on the size just for storage.
Yeah.
Well, we felt as though we'd rather do it all in one versus putting another shed in the opposite corner to put the lawnmower and the snow blowers and all the other stuff. Have it all readily accessible so that when you want to clean the driveway, you don't have to go outside to go inside to get your stuff.
Yeah.
To go up.
And then it's just cleaner, everything is just cleaner without sheds in the
Yeah, I mean, it's
backyard.
Can
It's
we
a
approve
beautiful
this,
design,
can we approve this with a condition that there be no secondary accessory structure added?
Yes, we can.
That would make me more comfortable. Then you don't come back, then you don't
Right.
build another outbuilding,
We can approve it with the condition that the side be
This is what-
checkerboard pattern.
Yeah, right, okay.
It's all up to us.
In that case.
Yeah, don't get carried away,
Yeah,
but
I'm
we could.
No, I'm not gonna ask for checkerboard pattern.
We can condition them.
Although, didn't we have somebody wanting to do a football field? No, I'll move approval of granting of the allowable square footage variance as well as the setback variance with the condition that no additional accessory buildings be permitted in the yard.
I'm good.
I'll second that.
Okay, do you want to have further discussion? Okay. We have a motion made by Mr. Alderson, seconded by Mr. Everman to approve the variance for the now Reinders property on Marquette. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Again, another
Congratulations.
nice set
Thank
of
you.
drawings. too.
Congratulations to you too.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
You made a good case, thank you. Mr. Mock?
They're always misread, Tony Mario.
Wow.
Wow, you've been waiting all
You've been
night.
sitting that entire time
You should've
waiting
laid
for
that
that.
last one.
That was awesome.
Okay.
That's so funny.
Yeah, you do that. You can say that now that there are no women in the room. Anyway.
That's funny.
We are televised, so
Yeah.
just being that as it may. All right, sir, you have a variance to request and justify.
Yes, we are requesting this on behalf of Gussel Brothers to put in a Dunkin' Donuts on this property. They have raised the existing structure. As you can see, the property has a unique shape. It's very small. It's actually 8 sides if you count the curve on the front, but for all intents and purposes, it is 7-sided. The existing use, or the property was developed in the early 90s under previous ordinance, and with a pretty minimalistic use on there, was allowed to be developed. This same use could not be developed today under the existing ordinance. What we're proposing is actually quite similar in geometry to the existing. We're showing about a 2,000 square foot building in there for the Dunkin' Donuts, which is about the smallest footprint that they offer. Parking for 13 vehicles and a drive-through around the back. The site is also limited severely on the east side by overhead power from the ATC facilities, as well as the West Shore pipeline through there. Even though that pipeline is currently inactive, that still is their active right-of-way through there. So we can't really do anything that moves the building farther to the east than it is. As it sits now, we're into their tree clearing easement, but not into their transmission line easement. As far as orientation, if you take that 15 feet off the front of the property, it doesn't even allow for parking and a drive-through or a drive lane through there. This lot is zoned C2, so it's intended to be used for vehicle-based businesses, drive-throughs, that sort of thing. And it also does have an access easement through the property to the northwest.
This is the tire place?
No.
Was it tire place?
Right. This currently, or
Oh, this is the
previously
dry
was a Royal
cleaners.
Cleaners. Before that,
Okay.
it was originally done as a Hot and Now. As a
I
drive-through.
remember.
So the variances that we are applying for is the variance to the 15-foot front setback, which does not allow buildings or pavement in the front of the property along Main Street. One of the options we investigated there early on in the process was to look about acquiring some excess right-of-way. The right-of-way is extremely wide through there, but it turns out that that's actually DOT-regulated right-of-way. And there's also Green Bay Met sewer in that area, so there wasn't any chance of acquiring additional excess property to the front.
But from the standpoint of somebody looking at this property, there's going to be a large terrace with grass because of
Yes.
the way the right-of-way is not all paved. There's a...
Correct. The perception is, I want to say it's about 45 feet from back of curb to where they actually have a little retaining wall up there, and it comes up a pretty significant incline to there. The other variance that we're applying for to make the site plan work is the bypass lane for a drive-through facility. Code requires basically a double-wide lane around a drive-through, and that's, I guess, a new development or part of the newer code. It wasn't previously required.
Yeah, if anybody's been in the drive-through at the Burger King, kind of just down the road a little bit, where it's just a single lane with like actually high curbs on either side, and it's taking forever, or you get tired of waiting or whatever, yeah, you're stuck.
Right.
Right, and this is like to allow that, or shoot, I'm panicking, or yeah, I suddenly feel sick, you gotta get out of there. I get that.
Yeah.
So just to make sure I'm looking at this correctly, the driveway on the bottom here goes into the drive-through on the bottom going around the backside?
Correct.
Correct. So we're driving in this way, and there's no room for a second. This is the drive-through?
Right. So as you
You
pull
can't
into...
go
Correct,
over.
correct. As you pull into the property from Main Street, you'd have the choice to go right to go into the drive-through or go left and park.
And are you able to exit from the gas station driveway then?
Yes.
So that you're gonna share that western?
There is an access
drive?
agreement
Okay.
between the two properties.
Okay.
Paul, could you explain that emergency lane thing more?
Right, so that's part of the development standards in 1600 that relate to drive-through facilities, and they're there for just what it says, to create an emergency exit for either a customer or police, fire, and rescue if they have to get around someone who's in the drive-through at a peak time. Related to that, I don't know if that's a varianceable item. It says shall in the code. It's not a dimensional issue, which you typically deal with, so I don't know if that's something you can even address from the application.
Yeah, that's what puzzled me about it. It sounded like a safety issue
Yes.
kind of thing.
Right.
If we aren't the ones, and you're correct, if we don't have to, I wouldn't propose that we wade into it. Who would be the ones?
You would have to amend the zoning code to do that, to take that requirement
Oh,
out.
you're saying you won't put the lane in, the double wide lane?
I don't think you can, right?
So you're saying that it's not
Something that's not a variance, but I mean, the applicant asked for it, it's presented to you that way, but my comment from staff is I don't think you can ask for a variance from something in the code that talks about shall, talks about the use. Typically, your variances are dimensionally related, they're not use related per se.
Well, especially when the word, I think, is emergency or something to that effect.
Right.
That's what troubled me about this. Now, the reason you don't have it in is because you want to have enough room in the front. Is it possible to move the thing forward enough that you would have 2 lanes in the back?
Well, I guess let me ask this, what is the dimensional requirement of that bypass? And is it throughout the entire length of the drive-through?
I think it's a one-way travel lane, so it's probably 14 feet.
Your parking coordinates only requires 12.
See, the issue that I do have regarding exactly this issue, and why it's particularly germane here, is this is a steep slope right here. And, you know, once you're back here, you're in a tunnel, just like.
At the Burger King.
Yeah. Out here, to the extent that there isn't a curb, which that puzzled me too, why you want to do that. But to that extent, there is room here. You know, you're out in the right of way, but for safety reasons, if that's what we're concerned about, here's okay, but this bothers me, because it isn't like you can just drive off and around because of the steepness of the slope. So that, I don't have a problem with the front part. We've granted variances before, and Noel perfectly illustrated why in this case it may not be such a bad thing, is that we've got a very, very wide right of way here for other purposes.
The one-way aisle is 14 feet based on the table 17-1. So that's what I would think would be a minimum
But what they.
emergency lane that would have to be provided.
You've only got an 11, it looks like, is it 11 or is it?
It was in 11.
Yeah, so you've only got 11 there now.
And that's fine. That's probably just enough for a car to get through, but if you're gonna add an emergency, you need probably 14 or so for just simple passing even one way.
Is the ATC gonna give you problems on that? Do they own that, are they the owners of the land just above that?
Yeah, to the north, yeah, there's no chance whatsoever about getting any property from them.
Really?
ATC?
Yeah.
Right here? So the property line ends on the driveway?
You can see the corner there. that just
Because, I mean,
Yes, the existing property comes to the driveway. If you square off where,
Right where the drive-through window is, basically.
right where the drive-through window is, but I'm talking about, you're looking at the aerial photo of the existing?
Yeah, so this is the property line right here, right?
Correct.
Where would that have, well, I guess this doesn't matter, it's not our job to do this, but I'm curious. Where would it have to start? Here, Paul? Like from the immediate entrance?
The emergency lane?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it starts
The
probably right
difficulty
here.
is
Right.
in,
It's got to be here.
yeah, we could do it through here. It's
Yeah.
just at this point,
Yep.
that is where.
Right, and if you shift it south enough to be able to get it, then you don't have a travel lane by the parking stalls
Or we
to
don't
get
have
in and
parking
out.
stalls.
Or you start losing parking stalls, right?
And we have, I mean, there's room to lose 2 stalls, but
Well,
I mean, it would be, there'd be the potential to have this double wide through here, and then,
Yeah, but if you still got a choke point, yeah, it just isn't getting the job.
And there's no way they would give you that corner, huh?
we would have, but it's not we anymore.
Right.
you know, ATC, American Transmission Company.
Yeah, when I said we, I'm referring to my previous life.
Oh.
The ATC now owns all of the substation and transmission.
Yeah, they're very
facilities.
protective of their right-of-ways and easements,
Oh, okay.
not in the business of giving anything up.
Because it is just an easement in there. and-
There's nothing there.
No, it's,
to lose an opportunity for.
Yeah.
But the grade might change, and I don't know how usable that space is either.
Well, if
The steep,
in the old days, it would- I think, I'm sure that it could have been arranged, but with the ATC, that's different. And that's the whole point of the ATC, so I really shouldn't say much about this. But I think that if it's I follow your lead, that I would just as soon have this committee not address an issue that seems to me to be a safety issue.
Yeah, I guess without knowing what drove the addition of the, emergency lane requirement, right? I mean, because you could look at that and say, okay, well, that's,
It's emergency, it's also probably annoying too, like you said, if you're stuck in a.
right, yeah, I mean, it's more annoying than emergency, I think,
Right.
for people who have used the emergency lane in a drive-through.
Right.
But I guess my point is, if this were, something that one of your colleagues thought would be a good idea and added to the ordinance, that's one I'd be much more willing to say, oh, yeah, we should, if you guys want to run your business and take the chance at not having an escapable drive-through lane, that's the risk that the company's willing to take, so be it. But if it was like, no, this is this was, imposed on us, or this is a requirement for
I think it's a convenience and a safety
from
issue.
some other place, I would have a different perspective on it. And I guess we don't know necessarily where all the provisions of zoning come from. Well, you might, but I don't.
Except that it's standard through any drive-through facility that you have there.
Right. Well, any new one, right?
And a new one, right.
Yeah.
And it's a convenience and it's a safety issue.
Yeah, and in this case, we're talking about how to reuse an existing site that's been underperforming, for the community and not just the owners. When I look at this, the only question I've got in terms of reconfiguring, because I appreciate the challenges with the parking and what good is the place if nobody can visit it without parking spaces? But is there any, capability to narrow, and I know it's already a fairly narrow building, narrow the width of the building and extend it longer, maybe taking the two westernmost stalls, at the upper corner of the building there, or even extending it closer to us on the other side to create a different footprint of the building that would still allow proper kitchens and dining and stuff like that, but then squeeze that extra lane. Even if it were a narrower lane than permitted, or recommended, say a 22-foot total drive lane or something like that.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good point. The emergency lane is required, but maybe that could be lessened by, I say it's 14, maybe you say, no, it's 10 or something. Maybe
Right.
that makes a difference.
Right. I mean,
Well,
how wide are vehicles these
I
days?
sense that the flexibility that this board has is more in the front than in the back.
Okay. Now, to answer the width question, county roads are 22 feet wide,
Right.
total width, and you blow by each other at 50 miles an hour.
Right.
A parking stall allowable in the city is 9 feet.
9 feet wide.
9 feet wide. De Pere allows 8.5 feet wide. So that's,
Yeah, so can you make a 20-foot total drive-through lane work? That's another 9 feet beyond what you got there.
it would be, I don't know, the narrower you can make it, the better the chances are. And we are asking for 2 variances, so if you cannot give the variance for the drive-through lane deviation, then I guess I'd still like you to consider the other one and force us to go back to the drawing board if we have to. But, and can they offer any guidance on what that width would be?
Well, I can offer what the code tells, and then you can decide, I guess, what you want to propose, and if that's acceptable.
Yeah, we're not in the ballgame of making ordinances. So
Right.
I guess-
anything involving numbers, I would rather us not be the one providing input. But I will say that I sense, at least on my behalf, that I feel more flexibility in granting variances regarding that front that front setback than I do in the back.
Yeah, I've gotten,
When I see the word emergency or safety, and I know that there's a steep hill there, I just don't see how I can, in any kind of conscience, grant any kind of variance there.
I guess, from my perspective, looking at, oh, I'm sorry, do you want to?
Well, I'd like to know, so when we are dealing with residential variances, we always consider something that is already there. We always say, well, that's what it is already there. So they're building a building on a drive-through that already exists, that was already built.
This is a total new construction, so I think all bets are off as far as any nonconformity or whatever was or is there. And this is if it's a greenfield site, I think.
So you're demoing the whole building and starting over, or you're
That
adding
was-
on to?
The plan was to demo the existing building. That would be the next question then, would this be considered differently if they were able to gut and remodel that existing building?
No.
Because you hit, what, 50% of the value of the structure, and then you trigger compliance with all the codes anyway. Right?
Yeah, well,
I think the thing for me is, and again,
it's a new arrangement.
yeah, when I look at this sort of thing, maybe we're not talking about an existing structure that's, odd, but we certainly have a parcel that's odd, right? We've got the curve of Main Street, we've got this huge setback that, that is access right-of-way that the city or the state or whoever has got control of it wants to keep control of. We've got these power lines and easements. I mean, it's a challenged parcel in a lot of ways, and I guess I'm looking at things I determine, in my heart to be hardships for anybody who's trying to, create some sort of viable commercial use of this property. I would be inclined to support, certainly the 15-foot paving setback. I don't have a problem with that on the front, especially given that huge terrace. I don't want to say no on the drive-through lane, but I do have some concern that, we're abdicating something that maybe we don't either even have the right to, or the purview to do, or should do. Although I would say, if you could get that total width for me, to 18 feet, like 2 parking stall width, that would work, but I don't want to also, propose to do something as a solution that you guys can't make work from a design standpoint, right? You look at the site layout and, well, that doesn't get me anywhere because I still can't make the thing fit. So I guess, and at the same time too, we don't want to say no, right? Because then you've got a year before you can come back to any of these things.
Well, if it's denied, I suppose, I think there's only really one variance that's in play, I guess. You could also delay it, 30,
Well,
60, 90
yeah,
days.
and if we say yes on the one and say, hey, we'd be open to the other, can they come
I
back?
think
We're
you
not.
can leave the door- You can leave the door open, I
We can
think.
leave the door open on that.
Because we could apply for, ask this question, if we get the front setback and if we can come up with some other configuration, maybe, because we're right up against the green space now, and I see if we can make that work somehow, we're gonna exceed the green space, we'd be back for another variance, but it's asking for something else that hasn't been denied, so we could come back
Right.
immediately, correct?
Or you could just call a timeout and take 30 days and, put more eye, or, sleep on it, so to speak, and think about it a little bit. Because you could go to you can go to angled parking, which would be one way. Instead of having two-way here, these could be all angled spots. Maybe there'd be some savings there. I don't know.
Oh, we shallowed up, but that doesn't reduce the depth that much.
It's a couple feet.
But that, that plus, a little bit.
Well,
of a
if
shape.
it's, it might, if it's
Yeah.
22 and you go down, 6 feet maybe. I think it's showing at 22 or 24 right now.
24.
To the left.
So we could get
10.
2 feet by going to 22.
You could, yeah.
Right, but I'm
And you're
saying
certainly
it's-
not looking at people coming in off that second drive, the northernmost drive here, and then doing the tight turn back in
They may.
to come in. But it looks like the flow has encouraged people to come in off of that driveway.
Correct.
And go and park.
But you could save 10 feet here, am I not correct? If you would go into angle parking, If this is at 24 and it's 14 for one-way traffic, that's
Yeah,
10.
but then the width of the parking stalls gets
I think it's a little deeper, yeah.
deeper.
Yeah. But it's still maybe 7, 8 feet, I don't, you know.
But just so I want to be non-boy here. But are you saying that if you angled all those things, that you would move the entire plan,
Just
the whole thing? But your whole plan is to use the existing concrete and everything. You're just building the
No.
building? Are you demoing the entire
The whole thing's
site?
gonna go away and they're gonna redo the
whole
Well,
site?
I would
Because
say the
everything's
whole
built-
thing will go away. We'd like to use,
He tried to
utilize
reuse,
some of the storm sewer and
Yeah.
gravel base and,
So that, now you're talking basically just demo the whole, in that sense, if you're moving the whole thing over 10 feet, just might as well redesign
Yeah, there's
the
not gonna be a
whole-
section of
whole
parking lot
structure,
that's the
right?
old concrete.
no, but
You're
you
gonna-
might utilize some of the existing base.
no, I
Right.
think what you were kind of
Yeah, if you
hoping
can
to
get to a
do
catch basin or
was,
something.
was reuse a implicit right-of-way for a turnaround in the back for the drive-through. You know, and that's, you're kind of putting it where the other one was, at least as far as that drive-through. Now we're saying that we believe that there are new concerns that lead us to be concerned about needing that emergency lane, in which case we need more room in the back. Do you need that little jobby thing at the far upper side
I was gonna
there?
ask what that was.
Yeah.
What is
The
that?
dumpster is.
Dumpster?
No, no, no.
No,
on-
little-
I'm-
a
No,
little top
this little flange coming out here. What is this here? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
That's a retaining wall.
Okay.
And the top one,
To make upgrade.
that's just for parking? Two parking spots there?
No, that's, well, you're right,
That's just
yeah.
curb return on there.
Yeah, these are parking spots here. Right? But that's your dumpster enclosure over there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that would actually be reused. That's probably the nicest part of the site.
Yeah, that's there now.
It's actually really nice. Okay. Masonry. enclosure. So yeah, that part has remained.
I think what.
I guess what I'd like to see is a proposal to come back with, as tight as you can make it, but still pass two cars side by side in the drive-through lane.
Right.
Everything else, we can make work from my perspective.
I think that's where we are. It wouldn't do you any good for us tonight to say that we're okay on one variance, but we're gonna punt on the other one.
Oh, it certainly would.
I believe it would.
If, well, from the owner's perspective, if they know that they have the front setback variance, then, you know, we can work on the other issues. If they-
Well, no, I think what we're prepared to do is say that we're gonna be flexible on the front, but I don't wanna give you a blanket waiver on the front setback, and let you, go wild on that. But I don't think I don't think we can give you at all a variance on the back, so that lane, that extra lane is the stumbling point no matter what.
But without the 15 feet on the front, there's
There's no point in going
no
forward.
chance, Right.
Right, and so, I mean,
Oh, I see what you
from that
mean.
standpoint,
All right.
I guess I would say, I'll propose this as a motion, that we approve the variance from the requirement for the paving setback on the front, and then not act or table the second request.
Yeah, no, you're right. I got confused myself. But he's going right up to the lot line anyway. He's going as far as, he's paving right up to where
Yeah.
he can.
Right.
And we're saying, and we're prepared to say that's okay.
That's okay. So, but I don't want to say no on the other one, because you've got to figure something else out there, I guess. But, so, not granting, not denying, but just tabling, or can we partially table? It's funny when there's two of them on one form, so I don't,
You want to give them a time frame, or 30 days, or?
what's appropriate for you, what would be work for you guys?
Well, what's the schedule to get back in front of the committee?
Third Monday of next.
Oh, we'll give you 60 if that's.
I say, why don't you give us 60 just in case?
All right, so move that we grant the paving setback in the front and table the second request for 60 days to allow them to come up with an alternative plan.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yes, sir.
I'll say yes. I feel like it's gonna have to be a whole new plan.
Yep.
So
Yeah, there'll have to be
I
some
would rather
changes
just
to
look
it.
at a whole new plan.
But I,
And look at the
yeah, but
variances
his
at
point
that
is,
point.
if we don't take any action, then he doesn't, his owners don't know if it's worth spending more money to have more designs done or other things like that.
That they're in that boat no matter what. So we're approving something that we're not even seeing.
No, but if he has to move stuff this way, in some way, he wants to make sure that he's got the variance on this front paving.
So they can play with that. Otherwise, it's no sense in moving forward because you don't know whether we're gonna grant that.
Because the only way out is to move it to the left. Or down, bottom towards the
Yeah,
front.
right, towards the
we're gonna
front.
be the engineer, I'll let him be the
Yeah,
creative one.
yeah.
We're saying it's okay to pave up to the lot line.
Which is what
Essentially
we
what we're
absolutely
doing.
have to do to make
Yeah.
anything.
Got
To
it.
make anything work. So, yeah, I'm
Okay.
moving approval of that and
I
taking the
second.
second half of it.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Halverson, seconded by Mr. Everman to grant the front yard setback variance as requested in item number 7, the property on Main Street.
And this is because we need more donuts in Green Bay, by the way, too. That's part of that.
And we will allow we will allow the applicant to come back within 60 days to discuss with us options that he has looked into regarding the
Right. To
emergency.
either resolve or eliminate the need for the second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0, for whatever it's worth.
3000.
Kind of like a tie.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, that's where it
it's
was
a tricky
going.
parcel to work
That
with.
was where it was going. You know, if I were looking at a dry cleaning place with that narrow drive-through underneath very big power lines with no geographic way to get out of that little corridor in the back, I would never have granted a variance for the dry cleaner way back when.
Well, it's probably a requirement that was added in 2006, and that structure's
I
probably been there a
know,
long
I know,
time.
this was something that predates. That's the main thing you're facing, is that you've got a new safety issue that's been introduced that perhaps they didn't think about before. We have no idea what they did 20, 30 years ago.
All right.
Thank you.
We have to motion to adjourn.
That's very good, that's
I
your job.
motion to adjourn the meeting, and we already approved the moving of officers, correct?
Correct.
All right, motion to adjourn.
No,
Do you go for second, or you just,
Yes.
no objection, you're adjourned? All right, second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, meeting is adjourned.